Emergency episode necessary, and here we are after an Indiana 78-77 win over Wisconsin in overtime. Me and Plaskoff Noah Gerkey with you on the House of Hoosier for the Field of 68. We're here on site still at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. It's much quieter than it was after Lamar Wilkerson's two free throws with 2.8 seconds left on the clock. What a thriller. I mean, that was just wow.
That was a bunch of fun. I mean, that was one of the more fun games we've got to see this year. It felt like a game that was going to be close throughout the entire contest. Indiana had a lead, ended up letting it slip. We're starting to see a trend there, but they found a way to finish the deal, come out away in overtime yet again. Back-to-back Saturdays, we've had overtime games we had to put ourselves through, but that was an absolutely fun contest to watch.
Indiana had the lead for the first 37 minutes of the game, and then Wisconsin grabbed a lead, went up by four, and Indiana was able to tie it late and force overtime. The way that happened, though, was really interesting because Indiana didn't make more than one shot. I think it was one for the final 5 minutes plus of regulation and all of overtime. They had one shot made.
Yeah, one field goal in the last 10 minutes of game time and found a way to win the basketball game. That does not happen. Like, that is rarefied air in Assembly Hall. That does not happen very often. In Wisconsin, they didn't shoot too great from the field. They shot 38%. Indiana did a really good job defensively throughout the night. It was just a matter of Wisconsin slowly getting back into it, but they shot a bunch of threes. They shot 36 threes. Just the third time, I think, if I did all my research right, that Indiana has had an opponent make more threes than them.
This is a Wisconsin team that averaged, I think it was 83 plus points per game. They were 15-0 when they scored 75 plus, obviously 14-0 when they scored 80 plus, and they've scored 90 plus point games already this season. They had 77 in an overtime game. This is their first loss, scoring 75 or more points, and it comes with 77 in overtime. And defensively, Indiana, I mean, Wisconsin was missing some open shots, but for the most part, Indiana put on a pretty solid showing.
Yeah, and I was really impressed, and we'll get into players later. Tatum Conaway didn't play, had the illness, saw him before the game. Josiah Miles came into the contest and played excellent defense. He made so many winning plays throughout the contest. I believe he pulled down 5 rebounds, diving on the floor for loose balls, going up, being aggressive, being physical defensively, whether it was with Blackwell or Boyd or I think his name is Rode. I don't know how to say his name, number 7 for that.
Rhodey.
Rhodey. Miles was everywhere. He was making a bunch of winning plays, and it wasn't just him. Alexis ended up with 5 blocks. Enright really clamped down in a good amount of stretches. This is a team defensive performance, and they really hunkered down on that end. We've talked time and time again this year on how they're going to win when they're not making 3-point shots, and it kind of hurt them in the USC game, but they kind of took that to heart, and they absolutely found a way to win while shooting very poorly from 3.
44 points in the paint for this Indiana team. They outscored Wisconsin in points in the paint 44-28 on a team that has a 7-footer, a 6'10 guy, and just their guards are bigger and taller. Like they have a 6'5 guard, a couple other guys. That was impressive. Bielyauskas was taken out early. He only had 14 minutes. He started. He was 0 of 3. All of them were three-pointers. Winter was fantastic. He had 26 points on 9 of 13 shooting. That was a career high. Added 12 rebounds, his 11th double-double of the year. But the efficiency numbers for Wisconsin were just really not great, and that was a credit to Indiana's defense. John Blackwell was 1 for 8 in the first half, I think. Nick Boyd struggled to get things going. He finished 7 for 19. Rhodey was 2 for 10. And efficiency wasn't great for Indiana either, except for Sam Alexis, 9 of 10, DeVries 5 of 10. It was a weird game where it was like ugly but great at the same time. I don't know how. It was weird.
It was ugly basketball, and there's surely going to be conversations about the calls towards the end of the contest as well. Talk about the charge and then the foul and Wilkerson down on the other end. But Indiana's defensive performance was fantastic. And also, you talked about the points in the paint. Sam Alexis had 19, and there was one point where he had 4 buckets in a row. It was the guards, too. Wilkerson hit his first 3, missed the next 7. He was attacking the rim. Enright's getting to the rim off ball screens. and having good looks. DeVries is stepping in, shooting one leg post fades. The offense really flowed extremely well, and they worked it within the paint. Coach DeVries talked about it in the presser. If they were hitting more threes, they probably would have put a few more up, but realized they weren't hitting them and started to attack and thought they could win off the dribble, and they absolutely did win off the dribble, and it was more times than not tonight.
Yeah, Indiana's guards efficient. The efficiency numbers were not great, but they did what they needed to do. I mean, Lamar Wilkerson had missed 7 shots in a row going into the final stages of overtime, and he still hits 2 free throws for the win. He had clutch free throws to send it to overtime. He had the layup to tie or bring it within one again. He also had 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Connor Enright scored a lot in the first half, not so much in the second half, but 6 assists, 4 rebounds. That's a classic Connor Enright performance. There were some major off nights, though. I mean, Nick Dorn, maybe his worst game of the year. It could be USC also. I'm not sure. But back-to-back bad games for Nick Dorn. He was 0 for 4. And then Reed Bailey only played a short amount of minutes. He had 1 point, was 0 of 1, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 1 rebound. Part of that was because Sam Alexis was playing so well. But it's a credit to this team that even on a short rotation with Conaway out, 2 players playing not their best basketball by any stretch of the imagination, and you don't score more than a bucket for, at least from the field, for the final 10 minutes, and you still beat a Wisconsin team that's really good, that's promising. It shows you can win in different ways.
It is promising. It was pretty much a six-man rotation because Bailey played 11 minutes, but I'm not going to necessarily throw him in there. And we talked about it, and it's been seen about how the rebounding was an issue against USC, and a lot of people that were watching had the same amount of rebounds as one of the bigs for Indiana. Well, it was rebounding by committee today. They took it to heart to rebound as a team. It's not just on the bigs. Wilkerson had 4, Enright had 4, DeVries had 8. He was the leading rebounder. Miles had 5. They had 4 team rebounds as well. Dorn contributed 2 boards. Everybody crashed the glass. Everybody's like, we're not allowing second chances. We're going to try to get second chances. And they were able to rebound. They tied in rebounds 37-37. They both had 14 second chance points. If that is a neutral in games Indiana plays, if you're neutral to maybe -3 to 5 on the glass, and second chance points are within 4, you put yourself in a really good position because of the way the team can shoot the basketball. They can attack you. And this team plays a lot better defense than they're given credit for. Everybody talks about how many threes they shoot, how good they are offensively. This is a very, very solid defensive basketball team, and they've shown it yet again. This is a Wisconsin team that puts up a lot of points, and for the majority of the night, they looked lost on the offensive end. They didn't know how to break down Indiana's defense, and it started with Enright and Wilkerson at the ball defensively.
Yeah, in the first half, Indiana in that second segment of the first half went up 26-12. And you're feeling really good. They were knocking down shots. The 3 ball was still not there fully, but then Wisconsin called a timeout, came back, cut the 14-point lead down to 7 within 4 minutes. Then that middle 8 segment with the final 4 of the first half, first 4 of the second half, it kind of held strong a little bit in that Wisconsin was trailing anywhere from 4 to 7 points. And it kind of stayed like that until the final, 2-ish minutes, I would say. Um, that was when Indiana went cold. But then you look at this overtime period. Overtime is 5 minutes. Wisconsin didn't score a field goal in the last 3:48. So that's almost 80% of overtime without a field goal. That's Indiana's defense. Indiana not allowing, even though they weren't scoring the ball, they weren't letting up any points. And that just kept them afloat. It was like treading water for all of overtime until something finally broke. And a couple good foul calls, if you're Indiana here and there. And that was enough.
Yeah, it was interesting because the way that the game was played, the first 24 to 26 minutes of the game was completely different from the rest of the game into overtime. We did not one singular free throw in the first 24 minutes of game action, maybe more. Not one free throw was attempted. Colin McMahon and I were up there in Section K looking when the last time a game had no free throws because it was trending that direction. So we weren't going to get anybody at the line all night. And then I'm pretty sure we had 23, 24 combined free throws the rest of the way. 27 the rest of the way through overtime. And yes, they were good foul calls for Indiana. One was made right in front of the Wisconsin bench, which absolutely shocked me. It's a heads up play by Connor Enright. It looked like they were trying to foul a few times earlier in the possession, couldn't get it. He saw him trying to go the one way, decided if I'm going to foul, a block charge is my best case. Boyd looks to extend that arm a little bit. There's an issue of who initiates the contact. Ends up being an offensive foul. The biggest pop of the night might have been that offensive foul call to give Indiana a chance. And then the one down there on the elbow where Lamar Wilkerson's not even facing the basket, but his leg gets kind of tripped up and taken out by Blackwell, gets called a foul as well, knocks down the free throws. Boy, was he clutch shooting the free throws down the stretch. But those were two calls that a lot of the times it felt like Indiana hasn't gotten those calls, and especially against Wisconsin, it felt like it has gone the other way of recent. Is Wisconsin is the team that gets those calls in those moments. So it was a little bit, it was refreshing to see Indiana kind of get on the other side of that whistle.
Wisconsin since 2007, 2008 is 26-5, or at least was 26-5, now 26-6 against Indiana. And we all know Indiana hasn't won in Madison since 1998. Greg Gard 12-4, now 12-5 against Indiana. This Wisconsin team has had Indiana's number in recent years, but today it just felt like a destiny kind of win for Indiana. Just everything seemed to go right. I also want to talk about Sam Alexis a little bit because we talk about Lamar Wilkerson's free throws when he drew the foul and, the one in the end of regulation to tie the game. But when Sam Alexis had the block on Nick Boyd in transition, went down, hobbled back, and then got an offensive rebound, dumped it back out to Lamar Wilkerson, and then he got two more shots. That was probably the most gritty play I've seen from Indiana this year. And I think it's going to be hard to top.
A lot of the fans around me were screaming, call timeout, call timeout, get your guys hobbling up the floor. You got a bunch of them. And then he goes down there. He said he was just cramping up, goes down there, gets a board with four other Badgers around him, hits the deck, could have been called a travel. I don't think his feet ended up hitting the ground, gets it back out for a new life. He played amazing. His best game as a Hoosier was today, and they absolutely needed it. 19 points, 9 of 10 from the field, and it felt like there was 4 straight possessions. They just gave him the ball in the post and said, go score. We've been talking all year. Indiana doesn't have that true post scorer. They can't dump it down to Khalil Ware and Trace Jackson Davis and say, go get a basket. That's not how their bigs are going to operate. For a moment, he even had a one-leg post turnaround that he made after back-to-back layups, getting the mismatches, made a nice fadeaway jump shot. They had that go-to score, and it opened up a lot more cuts to the rim, baseline drives. It opened up a lot. And the defensive end, 5 blocks. He was fantastic, stopping all the penetration in the lane, really. One of the best plays of the night, though. He gets beat, leaves his feet. Tucker DeVries comes over from help side, gets the block, Enright jumps, throws it out of bounds. That was how the game felt. Wisconsin's right there, gets close. Indiana's there to make it. Now it's a fight for the loose ball, and it somehow goes Indiana's way. That play felt like how the entire game was watching it, if that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. I think this game, you look at it and it's going to have some imprints on it. Wilkerson for the free throws, Alexis for the toughness, the efficiency, Enright for the charge, and that when he jumped and threw it off of Boyd's leg out of bounds, and DeVries for just flying all over the floor, getting rebounds, doing everything, and hitting some tough shots, which is something he hasn't done in recent games. But this game is important because it is right now a quad 2 win. Could end up being a quad 1 win. We don't know. But if you look at Indiana's future schedule over the next few, Oregon at home on Monday, short rest. Oregon just took Purdue to the wire, did lose. But then you go on the road, you face maybe the hottest team in the country in Illinois, and then Purdue on the road as well. So if you didn't have this Wisconsin win, you're 3 out of 5 losses to USC and Wisconsin, and then you're playing Oregon and then 2 top 15 ranked teams on the road. Now you're 4 out of 5 with wins over Wisconsin and UCLA, Purdue, and Rutgers. And then you have Oregon, which is another solid chance. They're now 1-11 in the Big Ten. And then you have those 2 road games, which could solidify you a spot in March Madness. Optimism is there.
It should be there. We talked about it. If they get Oregon, your winners of 4 your last 5. And you've got a road swing where Purdue didn't look too hot at home. Illinois looks like a buzzsaw, looks like the hottest team in the country. You maybe don't get that one Or maybe you do and find a way the way the team's been playing. They've won 10 in a row. Purdue didn't look good at home. That's a bad Oregon team. Maybe not bad. They're just not very good. They just aren't. Nate Biddle came back, played well. They're 8-15. They've lost 9 in a row. They haven't won in almost 2 months. They're just not very good. But Purdue didn't look like an unbeatable team at home today. Shooting can travel. Defense travels. We know that travels. And then you get Northwestern at home. You get Minnesota at home. You get Michigan State at home, and it's going to be a huge atmosphere. I know Michigan State looks really good too. That's a huge atmosphere. And you go to Ohio State on the road, who's right around the same par for the course as Indiana right now, the way the schedule's kind of played out. I Optimism should be there. It really should. And if they beat Oregon, you feel really good heading into that Illinois and Purdue stretch. Obviously, you look at it like a little hesitant. Those are two big games. I mean, if you find a way to get one of those, now you're really rolling. And you almost solidify your March Madness hopes if you get one of those two.
Well, this game went a long way in accomplishing those feats. Indiana 78-77, a winner in overtime and a thriller here at Simon Scott Assembly Hall. That's the Emergency Podcast, and we will take in the sights and do some more work here at Assembly Hall because it doesn't get any better than this. And it just every game, it's just great. At any rate, Indiana a winner, now winners of 4 of the last 5, and they'll be on short rest on Monday to play Oregon here in Bloomington. For Noah Gerkey, I'm Ian Plaskoff, another episode of the House of Hoosiers podcast presented by the Field of 68